Welcome to Musings of an Extrovert. My name is Darvin Wentes. I am your resident extrovert, and I am your host. I'm very excited for today's episode. Today, I'm doing another interview. I love doing interviews. It's so fun talking to people. Last interview, I was talking to my favorite person, and now I'm talking to another one of my favorite people. This is a good friend of mine. He is part of my church. He's also part of a close group of friends. He's going to be in my bridal party. I get now my groomsmen party. I don't know what to call that, but he's going to be in that. And he's a really, really cool guy. I'd like to welcome Dustin Runzo. Dustin, tell everyone hi.
Hey, Darvin. Thanks for having me. Thank you for the warm welcome. And yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. So tell everyone a little bit about yourself. Give us what's one cool thing that you do or that you think is cool, and then one thing that you think is nerdy about yourself.
One cool thing. I'd say, well, one of my summer jobs when I was little, well, not little, but like in high school and college was I worked at a jet ski rental business, and so I basically got to ride jet skis for free and just goof around in the sun with all my friends and got paid for it. So that was cool. Pretty awesome.
Yeah. What's a nerdy thing about you?
Nerdy thing. As we might get to in a little bit, I'm in medical school now, and I never thought I would enjoy studying all day, every day, but these past few years, I've found that I really love going to coffee shops and then just studying diseases or physiology of the body just endlessly. It's super interesting to me, and yeah, I love it.
Interesting. Studying all the time. Definitely not my speed. I mean, I like learning all the time. I don't know that I would enjoy sitting down and like looking at a textbook all the time, Is that kind of what you're doing, or are you doing a lot of different things? Are you doing flashcards and all the stuff?
Yeah, actually, I haven't opened a textbook in the past 3 years for medical school. So things have changed a lot. I use flashcards. Online flashcards are huge for me. Like even just YouTube videos or other online videos, resources for like medical knowledge. Just either watching videos or doing flashcards, and yeah.
Well, tell me about one cool piece of medical knowledge that you've learned in the last 12 months.
Cool piece of medical knowledge. Well, we had a class on heart, lung, kidney, which is supposedly kind of one of the bigger classes of our curriculum, and I kind of went into there not knowing almost anything about the kidney. You could have asked me what it did even when I was after first year, and I probably would have like stumbled over my words. So I think just figuring out, the function of the kidney, how blood flows through it and to these little tubules, and then some things get filtered out, some things get put back into the blood, which will into the urine, which will be urinated out, obviously. But I loved actually the physiology and how the kidney works. So that was pretty cool.
That's cool, the kidney. I don't think about all of my organs too often. Maybe every other week. I might do a muse on organs at some point. Probably not, but I don't think about them very often. So heart, lung, kidney, why are they grouped together?
Well, it's kind of like the core class. Obviously, heart, lung, and kidney are very important organs that we have. And so this class a little longer, gives a little more time to studying the individual organs. And other than that, I'm not too sure how they grouped them. I'm not sure if other med schools do the same thing or not, but that's what EVMS chose to do.
Okay, yeah, I guess they're kind of some very, very important if they go out, It's interesting. Your brain's kind of important too, though. If your brain goes,
that's
you're kind of gone.
Pretty important.
So could be brain, lung, kidney, heart.
Right.
Brain, lung, heart. Okay, cool. So tell me about kind of like your experience in med school starting out, and then now kind of on the other side of the elephant that has been here for the last 2 years, COVID.
Yeah.
You started med school in that time, but as I understand, you also did a degree essentially before that in order to get into med school. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so I graduated college and then worked for a year and then applied to medical school and didn't get an interview, didn't hear back at all from any. I might have applied to like 10 or so schools, didn't hear anything back. So then I was kind of thinking about what to do. Yeah, that was pretty tough. Kind of just assumed it would come to me, but yeah, I had to work a little harder. And a mentor at EVMS, who I know now, he reached out to me. He was in admissions and said that I should check out this master's program that EVMS has, which is actually a really cool program because they actually take students who didn't get into medical school and they put them pretty much through first year medical school classes. And then if you are in maybe the top half or the top third of that class, they'll accept you into their medical school, and then you'll repeat that first year again. But it's a pretty cool concept because then they actually see that you can handle what they're giving to you.
Yeah.
But it's a very, very tough program because obviously everyone wants to do well, everyone wants to get in, and not everyone can. So it's pretty tough.
Yeah, that sounds tough. I mean, if it's did you say the top third?
Yeah, top third to top half.
Gotcha, man. That is hard. I personally wouldn't like a class like or a course like that, a degree like that myself, because like I don't like having that type of competition with people. Right. Like when it comes to like your academic competition, I am not the person who wants the academic competition.
Right.
And so that would be very, very tough for me. So for you, how was the experience? Did you feel like you were constantly like in competition with people? Was it really like grueling, and like did you feel like you had to outperform anybody and everybody, or did it feel a lot more casual than that?
So surprisingly, the culture, at least the culture of my class, was pretty good. We were pretty supportive of each other and sharing with resources, which you wouldn't really expect in that kind of a program. But I was lucky to have a lot of really good people surrounding me. And but also, so I lived 40 minutes away from campus, so really I wasn't involved in any like drama or like gossip between like people in my class, just because I was never really there.
Yeah.
And I hung out with some people in my class every now and then, but for the most part I was at home or at a coffee shop studying on my own. But other than that, it was a great class, and I still have a lot of friends from that MedMaster class that I still keep in contact now that are also in my medical school class. But it was tough because you did know that you were competing with every other person.
Yeah.
So there was always a goal, when you had a test, you wanted to do like above a standard deviation, above the mean, basically. And so when you didn't reach that goal, it got kind of a little stressful, wondering if like, oh my gosh, like I might not get in soon.
Yeah. Man.
Yeah,
that'd be tough for me. I'm glad you did it though, because now you're in med school and you're in your third year. Today was the first day, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, overall it was a great experience. I learned a lot about studying. I totally redid the way I studied compared to like undergrad or high school.
Tell me about that. How did you study in undergrad versus how you study now?
Sure. So for high school and undergrad, honestly, I feel like I didn't study that much.
Me either.
And I felt like certain things kind of came pretty easy to me without studying. Maybe if I did study a little more, I wouldn't have had to do the master's program. So I wasn't a straight A student in college at all. But once I got into this program, I knew I couldn't slack off at all. So I had another good mentor who was a year above me in med school because he had gone through the same master's program, and he kind of told me what he did to get in and all his strategies. And so, like, one example is there's this online application called Anki, which is like a online flashcard app. And basically it works through spaced repetition. So you might write a card or download a bunch of different cards, and like if I did it today and I got it right, it'd come back in like a few days. If I got it right in a few days, it'd come back in like 10 days. So, and if I got it wrong, well, then I'd see it the next day. So
Gotcha.
it kind of works on repeating the stuff that you don't know very well and kind of spacing out the stuff that you do know pretty well. So it's a really efficient way of studying. There's kind of this funny rivalry in med school between people who love Anki, like absolutely love it, which I consider myself one of those people, and people who just totally detest Anki and can't stand just memorizing like overt facts, stuff like that. But it's worked out well so far.
That's good.
So you kind of supplement like learning new complicated things with videos of other teachers, explaining it through, and then you can kind of just repeat those facts through Anki.
Gotcha. So you and I talked over lunch, like, what was that, like 2 or 3 weeks ago now?
Yeah, I'd say so.
It was a little bit ago. And we were talking about your boards and when all of those things are happening. When did you already do your boards exam? You said it was like going to be a 6-hour exam, 5-hour exam, something like that.
Yeah, so I took my first one. It's called Step 1, and you take it at the end of your second year of school. And that, I think it's 8 1-hour blocks, and each block has 40 questions. And so, it ends up being about 8 hours, but if you end each section early, you can get out a little early. So it didn't take quite 8 hours, but it's a long test.
Yeah, I'd say.
And my class is the first one that it's pass-fail for, so honestly, it was pretty low stress.
Yeah.
After taking a few practice tests and passing them, it was much less stressful for me than for the people before me who had graded tests.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So it was pass fail. You said you guys are the first class, and this is like all of the United States.
Right.
This is the first class.
Yep.
That it's pass fail. Is that because it's such a preliminary test that the graded measure wasn't as necessary as towards the end of your med school? Like, why did they make it pass fail?
I don't know the real reason, because Step 1, the test that we're talking about, residencies would still look at Step 1 pretty heavily for your grades through med school. So I think in general, it's kind of a move towards a holistic approach to looking at applicants for residency.
Gotcha.
In regards to like looking at more extracurricular stuff, volunteer, and looking a little bit less at grades. So I assume that's kind of the main thing that they were going at.
Yeah,
but
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have gone through 2 full years of med school. And you also went through, was it 2 years of that, the master's program, or was it a year master's program?
That was 1 year.
It was 1 year?
Yeah.
So that's 3 years of kind of, new information plus 1 year of about repeat information. What was that time like for you? Because it was in the middle of a pandemic. I hate using that word anymore, but like, it was in the middle of a really big medical issue within the whole world. And, hospitals were under the strictest of rules. I imagine that med schools probably had some strict rules too. So what was that like?
Yeah, so it was at the end of my master's program that I had taken from 2019, fall of 2019, the spring of 2020. So it was right in that latter half of the master's program that COVID hit, and everything kind of just instantly went online. To be honest, it didn't affect me that much because I studied on my own anyway. The only difference was that I didn't go to lectures live, but they would just post them online anyway.
So everything was in online lectures, online classes, everything. moved online.
Yeah, everything was online. Even tests were kind of at-home tests taken online. That was also a big difference. But it didn't really change your mindset at all. You still knew you had to work hard and get a good grade on the test in order to stay competitive.
Yeah.
So I guess one of the biggest things for me was that I couldn't go to coffee shops and study anymore because they were closed.
Yeah.
So I was just studying in my room instead, which maybe kept me a little less distracted. But
yeah. So tell me about your coffee shop, your love of coffee shops. How many coffee shops since going to med school have you been to?
That's a tough question. It might take me a while to count them, but I just love going somewhere, honestly, and being around a lot of people that aren't studying. And also, taking a break here and there just to look up and see other people interacting around me. It's super cool. Just kind of reminds you that you're not really in this little shell by yourself. There's a whole world out there.
Yep.
And this content that I'm studying right now isn't the whole world.
Yeah.
So it's a good reminder that just kind of helps me put things in perspective of what's important and what's right in front of me, basically.
Yeah, that's cool. So what is your favorite coffee shop of the coffee shops you've been to?
Ooh.
These are all, I'm assuming, Hampton Roads coffee shops, unless you did some studying at coffee shops out of state.
I went to one in Raleigh, which is really cool, but I'd say my favorite in the area, I think Sawdust Road and American Brew might be tied for first. Maybe American Brew might get a little more leg up because they're open later. Sawdust closes at 3 every day. If Sawdust closed at 7 or 8 every day, I'd always go there.
Sawdust.
Yeah.
So did I introduce you to American Brew, or did someone else introduce you to American Brew? How did you come across that one? Because that one's on the opposite side of Virginia Beach.
Yeah.
And I feel like I remember something about you, your brother, and everyone never really going out in that direction.
Honestly, I can't remember. I know that we met there once for a little bit, but I feel like I might have just looked up on maps different
coffee shops.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense. And that one's a great coffee shop. I love American Brew personally. During the pandemic, I mean, they had a window outside, and they still have that window outside. And I think they had it before it happened, but they made it more accessible during, because they weren't letting anyone into the shop. But I would go there before church on Sundays, and I would go grab a coffee at the window, sit outside, walk on the Lesnar Bridge, and then drive back out to my house in Ocean View.
Yeah. What made you choose that one of all the other Hampton Roads coffee shops?
Well, there was one. So there's Coaster Coffee, which is right down the road on Tidewater Drive. Have you been to Coaster?
Yes, I've been there a few times.
Yeah.
I like that.
So Coaster Coffee, it's right down the road. I like Coaster. I like their coffee. Their coffee's great. But I didn't really like the seating arrangements and the environment in there as much as I liked American Brew. I think I'm more partial to the water, and so the water was right there. If I wanted to go walk by the beach, I could grab a coffee and walk by the beach.
Right.
Or walk on the bridge and then back. So I really liked that about American Brew. And it was, 10 minutes from my house. So I think Coaster Coffee was just a little short of a drive, maybe 7 minutes. And then I don't know of any other coffee shops that were as close as American Brew to my old place. So I think just proximity, as well as it's kind of leg up over Coaster with the ocean being right there, is probably why I chose that one.
Gotcha.
Anyone else. But in that time, I discovered so many different places, like Blue Cow, the ice cream shop. It's right on Shore Drive and the end of Great Neck, I believe. There's the Delta Hotel that used to be the Virginia Beach Hotel or something like that, right at the very end. And there's Hot Tuna is right in that parking lot with the Food Lion.
Oh yeah.
And then there's Blue Cow ice cream, which is right down.
Kinda
is
like
it Blue Cow?
The back corner of near where Hot Tuna is.
Yeah, it's in that back corner. I think it's called Blue Cow. I could be wrong.
Is
Blue
it
Cow
good?
might no. Blue Bell is the ice cream
Right.
brand that you find in the stores, and Blue Cow is the ice cream shop.
Hmm.
Very good ice cream. Took Liana there actually for maybe like a fifth date, something like
Oh.
that. Yeah, we got ice cream a lot. Do you remember when I told you that if the second date was going well, that I would take her to go get ice cream at Lolly's,
Oh yeah.
and then if it wasn't, I would like not do it. She always brings it up now. Like I tell or we're talking about ice cream at something, and then she'll like tell whoever the friends are that we're talking about that. She'll be like, "Yeah, did you know he said this to his friends?" Then she'll be laughing about it, and she's
Yeah.
joking. So, but yeah, that Blue Cow is a great ice cream shop. I took her there, so
Okay. I'll have to try that.
yeah, you should get out there. There's a lot of really good stuff out in that direction. You also have, oh man, what is that? It's next to Shore Break out there. I forget the name of it, but it's a really great restaurant out there too, close to Chicks.
Okay.
So on the opposite side of Chicks, you keep going a little bit. There is a coffee shop out there that I didn't go to during the pandemic, but after the pandemic started, like probably a year and a half into it,
Mm-hmm.
I found that it's Lynn Haven Coffee Company. Have
Yeah,
you been there?
Yeah, I've been there a couple
Yeah.
times.
Lynn Haven Coffee Company is really good. I actually really like it. I didn't know it was there until a while ago. And,
Yeah.
yeah, no, it's really good.
Yeah, it's a nice little shop.
Yeah. So have you been to, how many of the coffee shops in Norfolk have you been to?
We'll see. There's Coalescence, Stella, Cure, Coaster, like you said, Fairgrounds. I have not been to the Norfolk Cold Pressed.
I think the Norfolk, it's Town Center Cold Press is what you're referring to, right?
Yeah,
Or is
it's
it
like,
actually called Norfolk Cold Press?
oh no, it's called Town Center Cold Press,
But in
but that
Norfolk.
always confuses me why they call it that. But
Yeah.
then they have it in Norfolk.
Yeah, that one, I think they actually closed that one down.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it's
Missed
now,
my chance.
they like transitioned it into something else, but I
Okay.
remember there was a swing dance night going on like, a year and a half,
Mhm.
maybe like last year, early in the year, going on there. And they totally closed down Town Center Cold Press there. I'd gone there once
Oh.
before, so that's how I knew it was there, but I was like, that's weird that they closed it down. It's in Ghent. You would think it would do well,
Yeah.
because there's so much there.
Right.
Have you, so Fairgrounds Coffee,
Mhm.
what do you think about Fairgrounds?
It's very different from all the other coffee shops, just like
Mhm.
the atmosphere, I think. To be honest, I can't tell the difference between like good coffee and bad coffee, so I'm not a good judge of that. But
You're a drip coffee person. That surprises me that you don't know the difference, because
Yeah.
drip coffee people are the ones who are like, this coffee's good, this coffee's not good. You know?
I mean, if it tastes like mud, I can tell, but like other than that, it's all the same to me.
Yeah, I gotcha.
But yeah, Fairgrounds, it's a cool setup, and like they have a little, I don't know what you call it, but their shop has like a out pouch of like tables and
Yeah.
stuff with like giant windows, and it gets kind of hot over there, but I like studying there too.
Yeah. There's a pub right down the road from Fairgrounds,
Mm.
and they sell really, really great. I think they're like a cheese fry type dish. Oh, it's tater tots.
Peck and Pour.
Not Peck and Pour. 411, is that what it's
Okay.
called? I don't even know. I don't remember. I don't remember some of the names of the places that I go to, and it's so bad because I like them and I really like them. Like
Yeah.
420. Have you been to that?
Yeah. Wait, no.
8020.
80-20.
8020. Not 420.
80-20, I've been there.
420. Oh my gosh. Yeah, 8020. Those burgers there are so good. Except I remember the first time I got a burger there, I wasn't the biggest fan. But the other burgers that my friends got there, I was like, "Oh my gosh, those look so good." So, yeah, their burgers are really great. So tell me something cool about your med school. Like, what is one cool thing that you like? Cool tech, cool procedures, cool things that you've gotten to be a part of while being in med school.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite things, which I think EVMS is more on the leading edge of this, is ultrasound and teaching ultrasound to med students. So our first 2 years, we kind of had a class throughout those 2 years of teaching us how to ultrasound different parts of the body. Like the heart was really cool, the liver, kidneys, certain joints. I think that's really cool, and it's such an efficient and I think useful tool to and a skill to have. If you think something's going on in the abdomen, you can just put an ultrasound right there and have the answer instantly, almost, depending on what it is.
Yeah.
And so that I think that has really advanced a lot of medical care recently.
Yeah.
So I hope that whatever I go into in the future, that I'll be able to incorporate that and continue to get better at
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. So tell me what is for, like someone who's not in medical school, and who doesn't know much about medicine, what exactly is an ultrasound? Is it like an x-ray? Is it like, we know that people use it to go find out if, how their baby's doing?
Yeah.
Most people know that. But like, what exactly is it?
Right. So it's just another way to image certain things on the inside of the body. It uses sound waves, kind of like bats or like dolphins use to communicate. It uses those sound waves, and depending on the way that they bounce back to the ultrasound probe, which is kind of the tool that you're using to send off those sound waves, depending on the way they reach that probe again, then it generates this picture that you can see things relatively clearly. And yeah, there's not really much preparation you need to do. It doesn't take a while. It's instant.
Yeah.
And you'll have like a screen right there that's showing you what's
everything
happening.
That's super cool. So ultrasounds make human bats, essentially. Yeah.
Almost.
That's cool. So you touched on this in your last answer. The future, like what are you kind of thinking now? You're 2 years into med school, into your third year, and I think I asked you this question probably over the last 3 years, a couple different ways and a couple different times, and I feel like your answer has slowly changed over that time, because at first you thought maybe this was what I want, and then you weren't sure about what you want. And so where are you at now? Like, what's kind of the thought? Do you think that you want this type of medicine versus this one? Tell us about that.
I worked in an orthopedics surgeon's office before medical school, so I've kind of always leaned towards that because it's more comfortable. I know like the types of doctors that are in that field. In general, I'm just more comfortable with that because I spent a couple years in that setting. I still think that's a front runner right now because I also am pretty sure I do want to do something with my hands, some sort of surgery. And so that'd be a good one for that. Another one, which is very different, almost like opposite end of the spectrum, that I am also interested in is pediatric hematology oncology, which is, blood and cancer diseases in kids. And so, yeah, I actually told the doctor that I was working with today that those are the two things I was thinking about. And I don't think he let it go for the rest of the day that I was choosing two of the like most different things that I could, because to be in pediatric cancer, it's, obviously a tough field, and you have to have a special heart for that. And on the other end, to be an orthopedic surgeon, they kind of have the rep that they're like the dumb jocks of the field. I don't think they're dumb at all, but that's the stereotype. And so yeah, normally like not known for their bedside manner, just known for their surgical skills. Whereas, working with kids, you got to have that really great bedside manner.
Yeah.
So yeah, he also said I was too nice to go into orthopedics, so they're also not quite known for that. Although all the surgeons that I've shadowed have been amazing, and they're actually the reason that I'm thinking about this field, which is really competitive. So I'm hoping to be able to get into it, but I'm not of the illusion that like it's easy to become that.
Yeah. Yeah, so how exactly do people get into the field? So, take us to graduation. You finished all your residencies. How exactly do you get into a particular specialty?
Mm-hmm.
Do you need to go to a residency specifically for that specialty in all cases? Or, do some residencies kind of be something that make you well equipped for, a certain grouping of different types of specialties? How does that work?
So your third and fourth years, like we've talked about, you have rotations, which are kind of 4 to 6 week stints at different specialties and different hospitals, and then you graduate, and then by then you've applied to residencies, and the residencies are kind of that first time that you're choosing your specialty. So some of them, like orthopedic surgery or emergency medicine, there can be some further specialization in those fields, but for the most part, I mean, if you go into orthopedic surgery, you're going to be an orthopedic surgeon. If you go into emergency medicine, you're going to be an emergency medicine doctor. But if you get, there's kind of another one called internal medicine, which kind of encompasses pretty much everything in the hospitals, basically. So you could go into internal medicine and be a cardiologist, working with people's hearts, or you could be a pulmonologist, studying the lungs, or a nephrologist with kidneys. So internal medicine is kind of like a big grouping that you can go a lot of different pathways after that, but other ones are pretty specialized at the front end.
So yeah, you go to your residency because you want to be that particular thing. So
Right.
there are specific residencies. So I'm guessing the residencies for orthopedic surgery are pretty competitive in order to get into that field. So do you apply for different hospitals then after a residency? And when you apply for residencies, is that like basically applying to a whole other school?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, you apply during your fourth year of medical school for these residencies, and they could be anywhere from 3 years long to 7 years long. And so, once you graduate, you have your degree, but you're actually not licensed to practice medicine. You have to complete one of these residencies, and then you can be licensed to practice on your own.
So you have to go after you complete a residency, licensed to practice on your own. Does that come with just completing the residency, or does that come with having to like do a dissertation and then be presented in front of some people, take a particular test? Like how's that?
As far as I know, yeah, you obviously have to make it through the residency, and you'll also have your board's tests to pass to get that accreditation. I think that's about it.
Gotcha. Okay, cool, man. Well, that's a lot of medical school stuff. I think medical school. I think you said to me earlier that like you don't know how interesting medical school is going to be to people out there, but most people don't know like what all comes with medical school. Like they know that it's just a lot of work. I think most people think, oh, you're in med school, that just means you're super duper smart. But they just don't know what it entails. Like they don't know the different steps that it takes to get through medical school. How med school isn't necessarily like you're just going for one thing when you go to med school. That one thing is once you get to residency. Like there's still stuff that you can specialize a little bit within med school, learn a little more about this or learn a little more about that, but you're getting a holistic view of medicine in med school for the most part, and they don't know the difference between the different doctor names. There's MD, and then is it DO?
DO, yeah.
Yeah. And that's doctor of
osteopathy.
And doctor of osteopathy, the difference between that and medical doctor knows more about they know about the human body, but they are specializing towards how medicine can fix the body, versus osteopathy is more so how we can do things without medicine to help the body. Is that correct?
Yeah, and the lines are pretty blurred also. Like in general, DOs are known for a more holistic approach. But I've been in practices where there's MDs and DOs working side by side, and their practice looks exactly the same as each other.
Yeah.
So it's just like a different way to get to the same end, pretty much.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, Dustin, thank you so much for joining me on Musings of an Extrovert. This is my second interview, so congrats, you're the second interview. It's a big deal, and thank you for telling me about your med school journey and telling all of my listeners about your med school journey. If there's one piece of advice that you could give to people who want to get into med school, what is that piece of advice?
I'd say it's all about your perspective. Whether you're trying to get into med school or you're in med school or even practicing, there's so much of a difference between the people I know that are grateful for where they are, whether they are where they want to be or not. Just being grateful for the opportunity to be able to try these new things, to try to get into med school, versus the people that are pessimistic and feel like more things should be given to them. It's just all about perspective. So just be grateful for wherever you are, and just know that the Lord's watching over you, and He's got a plan, and sometimes it's hard for us to wait for that plan to play out, but it's all about perspective. So just be grateful for where you are now.
Yeah. Well, that's great advice. That's great advice for not just med school, but like life in general. Be grateful for where you are. So yeah, thank you for joining us, Dustin.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me, Darvin.
Yeah. Well, everyone, thank you for listening to Musings of an Extrovert. I am your host, Darvin Fuentes. If you have the chance, and I know you do, please go ahead and click on that subscribe button. Give us a like, comment. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit that bell so that way you can get notifications whenever our episodes come out. And thank you for faithfully listening. I've been sharing this for the last couple episodes, but I am up to 133 average downloads a month, which is up from last week and then up from the week before that. So that means more people are listening, and more people, and I have a handful of people that have reached out to me and have talked to me about my episodes. And thank you guys for listening and engaging with Musings of an Extrovert. If you like our content, please go to muentesco.com/podcast, and you can actually ask me questions that you might want me to talk about, and that I may have already been musing about and thinking about during my week. So go ahead and go there and ask me a question. And as always, I hope you have a wonderful day.